Wherever you are in the world, real development only happens when people have a say. PRA first developed in Asia and Africa, but it's just as appropriate in Hull, on the east coast of England. PRA stands for Participatory Rural Appraisal, but now it's also being used in the streets and housing estates of the city. At first, it just seems like a set of tools for collecting information, but that's only the beginning. PRA is about people using these tools to understand and change their own lives. This film is about the experiences of some community workers and residents in Hull as they learn and develop skills in PRA over time.
I'm Paul Spooner, Community Development Manager for Hull Dock, developing our communities. Development very much has been top down in the past, in the main. People in the city council, other people who were heads of organisations have really made the decisions. But development to be successful really needs the involvement and the participation of local people. There has been a lot of money spent in Hull in recent years in regeneration, but it's not about throwing money at a problem, because you can tart up an environment and make the houses look very nice and put nice doors and everything. But if you don't tackle the problems behind the curtains, behind that door, then you will just repeat those problems and that was there before the big money went in. A lot of the times it's because people feel they're not listened to. It doesn't matter what they say, the politicians or the other decision makers will decide anyway.
I think we all too often, it's in this society, it's he who shouts the loudest is heard. In PRA, everyone is heard.
That's right.
Because usually when you find someone that's been excluded, they've got an awful lot to say.
Yeah.
They've never had anyone listen to them before, so you listen.
You listen, and you also listen and you hear what they're not saying as well. Sort of like read between the lines, and it's surprising what you get from that. Just listening to them and listening to what they're not saying, which goes a hell of a long way, doesn't it?
Sometimes you talk to people and their reply is, I don't know, I've never heard of that. And that's an answer in itself. Why don't they know? If we're talking about a health issue, why don't they know? If we're talking about facilities in their area, why don't they know? That's an issue too.
What we aim to do, and what has happened, is that we get residents and workers in the area, paid workers in the area, because we think very much it's about working together to start the process of participation and involvement from the beginning. I mean, I think it's about, at the end of the day, it's about building up people's self-esteem, because if you build people's self-esteem up, then the area's self-esteem gets built up. And then if they think they can do it, they'll do it.
We followed an introductory PRA course in Hull. Local residents were joined by people from aid agencies and NGOs, social and community workers, and a few students, like Ray.
People in the training course had a real mixture of different backgrounds, and right from the beginning we used very open ways of communicating. We drew pictures to introduce ourselves, of where we'd come from and why we were there. PRA seems to start with getting what you know and think out into the open. Then you can see and understand it, and it's easier to share and build on your ideas, as well as understanding each other better.
Anyone got any ideas of about that?
After a couple of days we found out who we'd actually be working with for the practical experience. I was in a group with Zach and Michelle from Hull, like me, Chris, a social worker from Yorkshire, and Judith from Oxfam in Glasgow. We had a chance to practice PRA with a local worker in the classroom.
Is that okay? It's often found that the same... Right, okay, so too much information.
Feeling of security. Would that be...
I began to realise we were doing all the talking and drawing, not helping her to bring out her own ideas. We were all anxious to use the tools we'd been taught, but was this really PRA?
just going to do it as a bar graph and people could check it on the scale of...
Found it difficult. We did have a lot of plans, and then when it actually came into implementing the tools, they weren't as easy to use as we maybe had expected.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes.
What are we trying to find out?
How to handle
This afternoon.
Yeah. I mean, what are we trying to discuss this afternoon then? What
We need to go back, actually, we need to go back to that.
to our learning, our field work room.
I don't know, let's do it.
What are our fieldwork aims? I mean,
What about that? Who wrote that? What is regeneration? No, that meant to
well, I think regeneration will take a lot of different...
finding out what local people's answer to that question is.
Yeah.
Based on their experience.
And that might actually be quite useful.
think, isn't it? Right, somebody write that down before people...
Sorry. Oh no, sorry. So,
What do people think?
So regeneration was our subject. We went out to practice PRA in the community as part of a wider project looking at regeneration in one area of Hull. First of all, we had an appointment arranged for us with a volunteer in a local community centre. With 5 of us in the group, we were delighted that a local resident had dropped in to use the computers. By chance, he already knew Zach.
I was, yes. Was I sat alongside you? Yes. I didn't realise it was you.
We'd already agreed to split up if anyone else was in the centre.
Basically, because the couple of years to it worked out on us and we couldn't get anybody else to do it.
Right. And how long did that go on till?
That went on for about 2 years.
Right.
It was about 2 years.
well, what we wanted you to do was maybe write down, draw or whatever, however you like, what you think regeneration is.
People think that with a play scheme, you can just walk in the road instead. They don't see what goes on.
What is regeneration?
We put play schemes. So I said children in need.
Areas are run down, and people are run down with it, as it were. So we've got our Beverley Road. Let's be positive and say we've got Beverley Road community, using ours as an example.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
So, and the other thing, so we've got Beverley Road A with this has a number of things. It's got its computer room.
That's a big one with me, because during the play scheme we had no spot in the police.
We were all enjoying the process, but I wasn't sure what Gillian or Ken would gain by it in the end.
All these have got computers. There's computers here, here, there, oops, there, missed it. There's facilities at Branzham, for example. They're all interacted. If you could get them connected, you could get facilities for everybody speaking to each other.
It was good what you did, you know. I think it did help Gillian quite a bit.
Because at first she did say that she didn't mind talking to 5 of us, but then when we sat down I could sense that she was feeling a little bit uncomfortable. So I was like, oh well, maybe it's better. Yeah.
And he was obviously quite keen to talk.
Yeah, and Ken was loving it. He was.
What did you ask him to do?
We asked him exactly to draw what he thought regeneration was, and he just started drawing the things that go on